The Master Key System, Lesson 2. Thought is energy. Thought is energy. Active thought is active energy. Concentrated thought is concentrated energy. Thought that is concentrated on a definite purpose becomes power. Our ability to receive and manifest power depends on our ability to recognize the infinite energy always dwelling within us, constantly creating and recreating both body and mind, and ready at any moment to manifest through us in whatever we may desire. Manifestation in outer life will be in exact proportion to our inner recognition of this truth. All processes, even those of thought, rest on solid foundations. Difficulties are largely due to confused ideas and ignorance of our true interests. The powers, uses, and possibilities of the mind are incomparably more wonderful than the most extravagant accomplishment or dreams of material progress. Clear thinking and moral insight are therefore invaluable. The unconscious working mind. The operations of the mind are produced by two parallel modes of activity, one conscious and the other unconscious. In the early 1900s, the philosopher Donald Davidson said, "He who thinks to illuminate the whole range of mental action by the light of his own consciousness is not unlike the one who should go about to illuminate the universe with a rushlight." The dim light of a torch made of rushes is as inadequate for lighting the vastness of space as are the meager capacities of our logical thinking mind for understanding the depth and breadth of our full consciousness. Analyzing our thought processes shows that the unconscious is the domain of our most important mental phenomena. The unconscious mind, also called our soul, works and provides for our benefit like a benevolent stranger, pouring only the sweet, mature fruits of its labor into our lap. The many processes of the unconscious occur with a certainty and regularity that would be unachievable if the possibility of error existed. It provides the essentials for all cognitive activity, while we haven't the slightest notion of how it does so. The value of the unconscious is enormous. It inspires us. It warns us. It furnishes us with names, facts, and scenes from the storehouse of memory. It directs our thoughts and tastes, and it accomplishes tasks so intricate that no conscious mind, even if it had the power, has the focus to undertake. We can walk at will. We can raise an arm whenever we choose to do so. We can give our attention through eye or ear to any subject we want. On the other hand, we cannot willfully stop our heartbeat or the circulation of the blood, the growth of our stature, the formation of nerve and muscle tissue, the building of the bones, or the many other important vital processes. The unconscious is also the source of understanding and wisdom beyond the norm. It must have been through the unconscious that Shakespeare perceived without effort great truths normally hidden from the conscious mind, that Phidias fashioned his famous bronze statues, that Raphael painted Madonnas, that Beethoven composed symphonies. In any skill, ease, and perfection depend entirely upon the degree to which we no longer depend on our conscious awareness. Playing the piano, skating, using a keyboard, performing any of the crafts and skilled trades, all depends on the unconscious mind for their perfect execution. The marvel of playing the piano or typing while at the same time conducting a conversation shows the capacity of our unconscious powers. We're all aware of how dependent we are upon the unconscious, and the greater, the nobler, the more brilliant our thoughts are, the more obvious it becomes that the origin lies beyond our understanding. We find ourselves endowed with tact, instinct, and a sense of the beautiful in art, music, and so on, whose origin or dwelling place we are wholly unconscious. When we compare these two minds, the one decreed by the will of the moment and the other proceeding in consistent rhythmic course, we see that the all-important life functions appear to have been intentionally withdrawn from the domain of our ever-changing outward will, and placed under the direction of a permanent and dependable power within us. The unconscious mind draws logical and accurate inferences from premises furnished from outside sources. Where the premise is true, the unconscious mind reaches a faultless conclusion. But where the premise or suggestion is an error, the whole structure falls. Illness, distress, and disharmony prevail. This happens because the unconscious mind doesn't attempt to prove or disprove what it receives. It accepts any suggestions as true, and at once proceeds to act thereon in the whole domain of its tremendous field of work. It perceives directly by intuition rather than reasoning. Hence, its processes are rapid. It doesn't wait for the slow methods of conscious reasoning. In fact, it can't use them. The unconscious mind relies on the conscious mind to act as the watchman at the gate by guarding it from mistaken impressions. The conscious mind can suggest either truth or error. If the latter, it places the whole being in peril. So ideally, the conscious mind would be on duty during every waking hour. When the watchman is off guard, or when its calm judgment is suspended for whatever reason, the unconscious mind is left open to suggestion from all sources. Films, television, and music are all potential sources of suggestion, with advertising designed to have a strong influence. Conditions are most dangerous during the excitement of panic, the height of anger, the impulses of an irresponsible crowd, or other times of unrestrained passion. The unconscious mind is then open to the suggestion of fear, hatred, selfishness, greed, self-deprecation, and other undesirable thought patterns from its surroundings. The result is usually unwholesome in the extreme, with effects that may cause the mind and body distress for a long time. Hence, it is of great importance to guard the unconscious mind from false impressions. The unconscious mind is the seat of our instincts, principles, and aspirations. It's the source of our artistic and altruistic ideals. And because the unconscious mind can't argue or reason, these innate principles or established instincts and ideals can only be overthrown by an elaborate and gradual process of undermining them. We focus on a new suggestion, frequently repeated, which the mind must accept. This eventually leads to forming new and healthy habits of thought and life, for the unconscious mind is the seat of habit. That which we do over and over becomes mechanical. It's no longer an act of judgment, but a pattern of deep, worn grooves in the unconscious mind. This is favorable for us if the habit is wholesome and right. But if the unconscious has accepted harmful suggestions, the remedy is to recognize the omnipotence of the unconscious mind. In doing so, we suggest that freedom is present here and now. The unconscious, being creative and one with universal mind, will at once begin to create the freedom suggested. To sum up, the normal functions of the unconscious on the physical side are to maintain regular and vital processes, preserve life and restore health, and care for offspring, which includes an instinctive desire to preserve all life and improve conditions generally. On the mental side, the unconscious is the storehouse of memory. It maintains wonderful thought messengers unhampered by time or space. It's the foundation of practical initiative, will, and the constructive forces of life. It's the seat of habit. On the spiritual side, it's the source of ideals, aspirations, and imagination, and it's the channel through which we recognize and interact with universal mind. Insofar as we recognize this creative source, we come into an understanding of power. The unconscious mind sleeps and rests no more than your heart or blood does, which of course is never. It's been found that by plainly stating to the unconscious mind specific things to be accomplished, forces are set in motion both in the body and in our circumstances that will lead to the desired result. Here then is a source of power that places us in touch with omnipotence. Here is a deep principle well worth careful study. The operation of this law is interesting. Those who put it into operation find that when they go out to meet the person with whom they had anticipated a difficult interview, something has been there before them and dissolved the supposed differences. Everything is changed and all is harmonious. They find that when some difficult business problem presents itself, they can afford to delay because something will suggest the proper solution. Everything is properly arranged. In fact, those who have learned to trust the unconscious find that they have infinite resources at their command. Someone may ask, How can the unconscious change conditions? The reply is because the unconscious is a part of universal mind, and a part must be the same in kind and quality as the whole. The only difference is one of degree. The whole, as we know, is creative. It is the only creator there is. So we find that the mind is creative, and as thought is the only activity that the mind possesses, thought must, by necessity, be creative also. But we shall find that there is a vast difference between simply thinking and directing our thought consciously, systematically, and constructively. When we do the latter, we place our mind in harmony with universal mind. We come into tune with the infinite, and we set in operation the mightiest force in existence, the creative power of universal mind. This, as everything else, is governed by natural law, and this law is called the law of attraction, stated as mind is creative and automatically resonates with its object to bring it into manifestation. Applying this principle. In the last lesson, you performed an exercise for the purpose of securing control of the physical body. If you have mastered this, you are ready to advance. This time, you will practice controlling your thoughts. Always use the same room, the same chair, and the same position if possible. In some cases, it may not be convenient to do so. Simply make the best use of such conditions as may be available. Now be perfectly still as before, but this time observe and then inhibit all thoughts. This will give you control over any thoughts of care, worry, and fear, and will enable you to entertain only the kind of thoughts you desire. Continue this exercise until you gain complete mastery. At first, you may not be able to do this for more than a few moments at a time, but the exercise is valuable because it will be a practical demonstration of the great number of thoughts that are constantly trying to gain access to your mental world. In the next lesson, you will receive instructions for an exercise that may be a little more interesting, but it is necessary that you master this one before proceeding to the next exercise. Cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of visible and material things. Mind is the master weaver, both of the interior garment of character and the outer garment of circumstance. James Allen. Summary. The two modes of mental activity are the conscious and unconscious. The degree to which we experience ease and perfection depends solely on the degree to which we stop depending on our conscious mind. The conscious mind is essential to our well-being. It guides us and warns us, it controls the vital processes of life, and it is the seat of memory. The conscious mind has the capacity to discriminate and to reason. It is the seat of the will, and it can impress the unconscious. Conscious mind is reasoning will. Unconscious mind is instinctive desire, the result of past reasoning will. To impress the unconscious, we mentally state what is desired and intended, repeating it frequently until it becomes our mental attitude. If the desire is in harmony with the forward movement of universal consciousness, natural forces are set in motion, both within ourselves and in our environment, to bring about the result. The law of attraction says that thought is a creative energy that resonates with its object to bring it into manifestation. In operation, conditions in our environment reflect the predominant mental attitude we maintain.